One of my all-time favorite subjects because it is so important and because a generation was raised to believe that the earth is flat. Only those with a higher education, of course, were taught that the earth is flat, that men and women were basically the same. And it was my generation that was taught it. It's what alienated me to begin with from much of that world. But somebody who was correcting it is Dr. Marianne Legato, who is a professor of clinical medicine at Columbia University, and her book is Why Men Never Remember and Women Never Forget. We were talking about the desirability of being exposed to a man and a woman, a mother and a father.
Right. I think that there are studies to show that the different sexes, mother and father, contribute rather characteristic and different things. And, of course, this is a generalization to the development of a baby, of a child. And one of the things that we've noticed in, or has been picked up in studies of infants' response to the male parent versus the female parent is that when a father approaches his baby, the baby's eyes dilate, the blood pressure goes up a little bit, the baby turns on, is alert and ready, if you will, for a much more physical and thrilling, risk-taking interchange as he's tossed up into the air, or I've seen lots of fathers carrying babies on their shoulders. And
or under
babies,
their arms like a suit,
off if they didn't have their knees anchored.
Mm-hmm.
Mothers are much more conservative in general in their handling of babies, much more protective, much more anxious that they come to no injury, and those babies settle down and become more, if you will, tranquil in the presence of their mothers. So I think these are generalizations, and there's no question, not only...
well, my motto, I just want you to know, is that generalizations are the mother of wisdom.
Ah, well...
There's no wisdom without generalizations. I mean,
right. Well, there's something in that. I think that parents of the same sex can rear perfectly great kids who, by the way, don't have to be homosexual themselves.
Oh, no, that nobody
which
claims
I find
that.
Interesting.
Yeah. That nobody claims.
Mm-hmm.
The claim that I make and others make is that whatever one's view of gay rights and the etiology or the genesis of homosexuality, mm-hmm. they are separate from the truth question of whether or not it is best for a child to have a mother and father, which we both acknowledge generally is better.
Right, and I think generally it's great to be exposed to both male and female
that's
as
right.
you develop, for sure.
All right, talk about people. You talk about people falling in love, that when people say, boy, we have great chemistry, they were onto something.
That's right. I think that infatuation is a very interesting phenomenon. It's a little like a hyper-alert state. And in infatuation is the time when males and females both resemble each other from a neurological point of view. They become obsessive. They have no thought in their mind except the beloved. This is for both of them. They don't sleep and do very well on not sleeping. Many people lose weight. My daughter believes that the best prescription for losing 10 pounds quickly is to become infatuated with somebody, and I think that's pretty accurate. What attracts us to people across civilizations is those features, interestingly enough, Dennis, that advertise the health of the person or the virility of the person in the case of women. Women like strong jaws, a bright smile, wide-opened eyes, muscular development. Men like full-lipped, broad-hipped women, interestingly enough, who... with shiny hair, believe it or not. All of those things proclaim not only good health, but the ability to conceive and bear children. There's also that mysterious thing called pheromones, which I think is an intriguing, if underexplored subject in biological science, which is that people may have molecules that we actually perceive by smelling them that make them very attractive. And the reason I believe that smell is much more important than we think, you ask a mother about a newborn baby and watch her bury her nose and face in the baby's tummy or neck. There's a lot of sniffing and enjoyment of the smell of the baby and the baby of the mother. The baby clearly recognizes the mother's scent. So all of those imponderables and poorly understood things do enter into our mutual attraction.
Let me read off some questions here so that I can get them in time here. Memphis, Tennessee is Ann. Why would someone change their gender? She has a female coworker who's going through the process of becoming a man.
Mm-hmm. Why would someone change their gender?
Yes.
I think because there's something in their brain that makes them uncomfortable with being the gender that their biology, their anatomy seems to indicate that they are.
Well, can anything be done then with the adrenaline gland, just as you described earlier?
Adrenal gland? No, I really think it's important to not characterize those kinds of people as freaks. Which is our tendency. Anything we don't understand or is different, we outlaw and say, oh, that's so weird and so inexplicable. I think that it's pretty clear that what happens to us in the first weeks and early months of gestation and formation in the womb forms the brain so that our sense of ourselves as male or female is cast in concrete. And often there are anomalies of our physical equipment that make us appear to be a gender that we aren't. And there is a collection of young boys, for example, who were born and studied at Johns Hopkins University who seemed to be females, but in actuality were not, and they had a strong sense of themselves.
You mean the John Money thing?
I don't remember the principal investigator.
San Antonio, Texas, Larry, why do men get along better with each other than women do with each other? Or do you not agree?
I don't agree with that. I think there are things that women turn to each other for and are very happy to be with other women about, conversations about relationships and feelings, for example. Men like to talk about sports ad infinitum. Most of them are encyclopedias of facts about sports that women are not interested in and can't retain and don't want to retain even if they could. So I think that there are reasons for seeking out friends of the same sex that make them uniquely satisfying.
Well, the book is Why Men Never Remember and Women Never Forget, and I salute your courage and the citing of data that are very, very useful for people to get together and learn each other. My view is that if we each have to battle our natures, but this is a book that at least tells us what nature we have to battle.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Marianne, you're welcome indeed as well. Marianne Legato, I'm going to give you some of my thoughts when we return. You are listening to The Dennis Prager Show. You're listening to The Dennis Prager Show. I feel vindicated for those of you who've been skeptical about some of my views over the course of years. Vindicated in many of my attitudes with regard to academia and the nonsense that I was taught as given, and the vast majority of my generation who went to graduate school and even just undergraduate who believed the claptrap that men and women were not basically different, but only different as the feminists all said, because they were raised in a sexist environment. And that you heard that great story that this professor, Marianne Legato at the Columbia University, whom I just interviewed, that she told that this famous pediatrician was told by parents who were very progressive, the new term for liberal, and who believed this stuff. They gave their daughter one Christmas 4 trucks, only to discover that she had put them to sleep each in her bed. Is there a boy on earth whoever did that? You know what the boys do with trucks? They crash them. And yet we have this new, where was this school that I'd reported to you? I think it was in the state of Washington, where they have this private school where they don't want even boys and girls to line up separately. It's a very progressive school. Progressive is the current term for dummy. And the dummy attitude that boys and girls are not different, and so you don't line them up by boys and girls. And they don't have boys and girls rooms. They have unisex bathrooms. This is a private school, undoubtedly disproportionately populated by children of parents who went to graduate schools. Boys and girls not being different. That was what I was taught. It started me on a great odyssey in life, which brought me, in fact, to religious affirmation. When I realized when I was at Columbia University, the claptrap I was taught, like the United States was responsible for the Cold War, at least as much as the Soviet Union, if not more. Men and women were basically the same, and so much more. And America was the imperialist nation of the world, and so on. The opposite of what reality was. And finally it dawned on me, the famous phrase from the Psalms that I had learned as a child in Hebrew school. Wisdom begins with reverence for God. No God, no wisdom. And that's the reason that there is more foolishness and outright stupidity at your local university than any other institution in your neighborhood. Because of that. No God, no wisdom. Amazing, isn't it? The book was Why Men Never Remember and Women Never Forget, Marianne Legato. It's been a joy talking to her. Thank you for listening. This is the Dennis Prager Show.